I um how you doing? I am been waking up early this last couple weeks. I don't know how long it's been since I've recorded. I don't have a beard anymore. I don't know the last time I shaved already. My hair is growing back. I'm gonna grow it long like a man bun style. Um had a couple of interesting things happen. Let me grab my journal real quick so I can doodle. Okay, here's the thing, okay? Can you measure impact is the question of today. Just texted Mylan. I think, look, like you need someone on your side to constantly remind you that you don't need to have some universal impact on the planet for your life to matter. Okay, like I think for you to have lived a good life, you don't have to change the social fabric that we all function in. Like it doesn't matter even if you do. I mean, it just like look. Here's the question, right? Look, one, is there a better form of living, right? Let's break it down question to question, okay? Is there a better life? My belief on that as of today is objectively there is not, but mentally there is. So it is not actually what exists in your material world, it is how you perceive it. Now, what about someone who is unaware of the fact that they have water versus someone who is aware of the fact that they have water? Like, no, sorry. What is the difference between someone who's unaware that they have constant access to water versus someone who is aware of the fact that they don't have water? Like, which is a better state to be in? Like, is that life where you struggle and then win? Like, it kind of feels like this. For people who are not, which is almost all of us, at a place where you're constantly aware, conscious, and like, you know, present, the rest of us function in a place where we are kind of just in this like void. And then when you have a problem, you're like, damn, I wish I had what I used to have. And then you like live life until you get back to that point. And then you're back in this place of comfortability, constant, everything is great. And you kind of just waste time and nothing really happens. And then some bad thing happens. And then you fight to get back in there. And that fight is the only part that someone feels alive. And so what brings you down could be I stubbed my toe, right? Depending on like what you've experienced, that bring you down could be, I I don't know, some like high school drama. Or for other people it can be, I am a refugee or, my family was killed. Like it could be, some crazy stuff that brings you down. But it just really it's like I guess like the more stuff that happens, you get like a more back and back view. So like that drop changes. So, okay, so is there a better life? I guess what we're talking about is it's more conscious than it is actually that exists. But there are elements of that exist. I think I have to figure out those niches later. Okay, but once you get from there, now is a better now if once you answer that is a better life one. Let me write it down. Is a better life one that makes other people's lives better? So since we talked about last time that a better life is mental, the question then becomes, is your life better if you can help other people's mental and appreciate that, make their life better in that old definition of a better life? That's another question. I don't know. Sure, let's say yes, right? Let's say as someone in the policy space, I kind of had to say yes, right? Okay. So my life would be better if I help other people make their life better, right? And how we said it's better is through mental. And so obviously, I mean, I think that's how you got to, focusing your career on education. But so to know whether, okay, so to study that, right, to actually learn whether you are making other people's life better, you have to be able to accurately analyze your impact. So can you measure your impact? Because that's how you would tell how good of a life you're living, right, from the previous condition. Um, and I say no. I say no. I say you cannot measure your impact because one, you don't know how far out to look. Right? I just explained this one earlier to a friend. It was like, if I have, let's say I have 10 generations down, once you've studied that, or let's say we actually agree upon that original definition of what a better life is, 10 generations down, that kid changes the entire world. Everyone's life is a million times better because of that guy or girl, whatever. But it's like that person would have only existed if, blah, 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 10, if I had had that, first gen, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, am I responsible for that? And if I'm responsible for that, like, when there was only 1,000 human beings, like that person kind of has the biggest impact, right? Because all of everything exists only because of that person. So, can you measure your impact? No. So, because you can't measure your impact, you can't tell whether you're bettering other people's lives and how you can't tell how much you're doing it, right? Because you don't know how far to look out. But I guess, can you measure your impact today? Like, on people's lives as of today, can you measure your impact? So that is not an objective impact, but that's a different form of impact. So can you measure immediate impact? No. Again, because, for example, what if I make 5 people's lives worse, but because their life was worse, they end up, doing all these amazing things later on in life? Am I responsible for that? Right? Like, how do you measure what you do, how much that actually impacts someone, right? Like, because let's say I do something that's like quote unquote great. So, like, I don't know, like I give a homeless person food. But because they ate food, they then were, sustained. I don't know, it's just like any, I don't want to say anything without like being like, whatever. It's just like, look, like if I do an action and that action is quote unquote good, it relieves some suffering. But because that person is relieved of their suffering, they go do something awful. Am I responsible for that? And is that my impact? So it's like, I guess, how much of the world do you think you control, right? So if I control everything, that means everything that I do impacts the entire world because the world exists and then I act on it. But it's like everyone is acting on the world. So it's not like I'm the only one impacting it. Everyone is equally impacting it the very same amount. And maybe it's like your impact is just how long you live. Like maybe there is no more impactful act, but it's just the length of time that you live. Because every second, in a weird way, by not doing something, I'm impacting the world. Sheesh, right? Like I'm choosing to not go out and volunteer my time right now. And so you can also be impacting the world through your non actions, not just through your actions. So if you measure the non actions and your actions, damn, then your impact is basically the sum possibility of what you could have done plus what you did do, and that is your impact. Whoa. So I impact the world through my non action. That means someone with a high level of impact can pick between many options for an extended period of time, and the person with the highest sum has the largest impact. Because you can't measure what the actual impact of a certain, once it is out of your own once it's out of your action, you can't measure it anymore. So all you have control over is like your action impact. Does that make sense? Let me see. Like I can impact the world in infinite ways. But that's all it is, right? It's once it is done, it is no longer a quantifiable thing. It is done. You cannot understand what the impact of Facebook is, because you'd have to imagine a world where that doesn't exist. So what would the life of mine have been if Facebook didn't exist? Which you can't really, like, I don't know. Because it does exist. So maybe the point is just to maximize those possibilities. What can I do is the goal. To maximize as much as I can. Am I physically capable of doing as much as I can? Am I mentally capable of being there for people as much as I can? Am I capable of loving people as much as I can? So it's maybe just increasing that potential. And then eventually you take an action, you take your actions, but the impact is not through the action. Sheesh. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that could be really stupid or that could be woke. I don't know. But yeah, so that exists. So, okay, so I guess, I don't know, that it was actually cool talking that out and kind of coming to some sort of consensus. Philosophy, love it. So doing these things, thinking that you're impacting the world, I think is stupid. I think I have to let go. You need to have non-judgment in your behaviors in both the positive and the negative way. When you do things you don't like, you're not a bad person. When you do things you do like, you're not a good person. You are not good for doing what you do, and you're not bad for doing what you do. You just are. You just are Gautam. You don't need to fit into this good, bad nonsense. Like, look, like, you felt bad growing up, you don't need to feel good. Feel just a person. Like, yeah, non-judgment is huge, man. Can't judge your behaviors, your actions. You just, but you can promote change by saying, I don't like this action, right? It doesn't like accord with something I want to do, but that doesn't change you. You are not bad or good. You're not good either. It's important to know both, you know? You can't just say it in the negative way. So, so what does that mean? Okay, so we came up with this, right? We came up with this understanding of impact. What does that mean? Could I just go live as a monk in a mountain? But then I'd be reducing my possibilities. Or would I? Maybe not. Maybe by even thinking that I can do it, that is a possibility there. But by actually some experiences open up many possibilities. Most experiences open up more possibilities. So it's like, by being a monk, what possibilities are opened? So what is the goal? To increase your possibilities as much as possible and then just die, like, as a possibility guy, you know, just like he could have done so much. But like, what does that all even mean? Like, could have done, like, done what? Like, we live in this world of where like you have to like accomplish and achieve, and like, why? Like, what? Like, really, technologically, do we not have enough to just like most of us live a pretty good life? Like, it's more of an accessibility problem than it is a technology problem. Like, there are people who are in severe poverty across the entire world who just don't have access to these things. It's not really like oh, the people at the top need better lives. Like, really? Is that the case? Like, do people who are rich really need better lives? Like, I don't think so. My life is pretty fucking good. I don't know if people really need a better life than the one that I had. Like really? A good life. Like, it was good. Like, it was good. I had everything I needed. Don't need more at all. There is no part of me that needs any more. Before, the people who have nothing should probably get a little more help. You know, like, damn. Like, materialistically, what the fuck else could I possibly have that would make my life better? It's all mental at this point. Like, there is nothing in the world. I got my water, I got my shelter, I got my food, I got my family, I got love, like, I got human interaction, companion, I got a functioning body, a functioning face that will allow me to travel and not be looked down upon. And it's like, what? So it really just shows like we don't need more like more things. We don't. What is the point of technological advancement? Like I don't know. Like what would a world look like where? But here's an argument. And I've heard this before. It's like the only way to reach accessibility is through technology. So the idea is as you push up the top, whatever is like at like the forefront of technology, the things that are currently at the top will then become more accessible. So it's like through pushing the top, you bring up the bottom as well. But maybe yeah, that could be true. And if that's true, then it makes sense, right? Like what is the point? What is the point of all this? To eradicate poverty? Like what does that world look like? And I guess that's a question. I mean, if you're going to be in this policy space, you got to really think about that. What does your utopian world look like? That's different than what it is now. So I think there's like a few like basic ones, right? Like I think the fact that no one gets assaulted or raped would be pretty that would be pretty phenomenal, I think. Like I think that's a pretty easy place to start. Like murder is like a different one just because it's like there are places where that has high utility. For example, like someone's coming after your family, you got to kill them. Like there are places where is there is utility for that. But rape just doesn't have any utility. Like I guess like you could come up with some pretty crazy arguments for why it has utility. But I guess maybe I'm also socialized like to think that way because it's like when you kill someone, they're dead. But in a weird way, it's like people look more down upon people who are like assaulted because it's like you have to still live your life. But it's like, is living life post trauma better or worse than being dead? And what type of world are we living in if we say it's better to be dead? Like that we don't have any access to good mental health services, or we don't have, like what? Is it really better to be dead? I don't think so. Like, but it's like we look at people who got assaulted way more sad than we do at people who died. Like, so yeah, like if you have awful societal, so for example, socially, like I can say this, I guess, like from a little bit of my experience in other cultures. I don't even want to speak for any particular culture because I don't know. But it sometimes feels like, look, like if you kind of like chastise someone for going through something, right? You're like, oh my God, like you are pushed away from society, you are gone. Then it's like it's way worse to have that happen to you than be dead because you are now like excommunicated from the society. So I guess like in Indian culture, the worst thing that could happen to you is you're not able to get married. That's like you have messed up everything in your life. Like you so like I think when your parents die before you get married, or there's a whole bunch of things. It's like you can't get married, you are done. So it's like, what is the worst thing to happen in America? Nothing. I mean, really, like it's not really going to jail. It's not like that's a worst thing that can happen to you. It's not. There's no real like community to be kicked out of. I mean, you can just go to a new state and start your life over. It's not. I mean, you can do that in India too, but I guess like it's just so you're just so built into that family structure that like leaving is not really even a thing. But yeah, what is the worst thing that? No, I guess which is why you can kind of do more things here because there's nothing that bad that will ever happen to you in terms of a consequence, right? Like I guess you could solitary confinement is pretty awful. So like maybe that's the worst. Like, but there's no real like, and I guess those are like heinous activities. Like in India, for example, like you can do small thing transgressions. Like for example, like dating someone before you get your arranged marriage is not there. At least in Chettiar culture. Let me not even say India or Tamil Nadu. Like Chettiar culture, which is all I can speak for. And even that I don't fully know. So I guess all I can speak for is Chettiar culture, my family. But even that I have very little. So, but I want to say I do have beliefs, and I need to say it with what I've experienced. But to say that I don't know everything and don't take what I have to say at all seriously because I don't know. But like, it just feels like Like leaving is not really an option because financially, geographically, everything you're kind of connected. So I don't even know how I got here anymore. But yeah, like I remember now. Yeah, so going to jail, solitary confinement, you usually have to do something pretty heinous. But like small transgressions, like lying, being, like being mean, like those things, like you can get away with completely fine in America. The only thing you'd miss out is maybe you wouldn't make friends. But if you're rich, you're good looking, like you have that down too. Maybe you wouldn't make. I think at the end of the day, the only person you'd fact is you. You wouldn't have a you yourself through your experience would not have. I mean, this is even a hypothesis though. You wouldn't have meaningful connections. You wouldn't feel a full life. But that could be wrong. Like maybe people who lie and are mean and dishonest can do those things. At which point then there's no consequence. Which brings an interesting question. Like what is the consequence to lying? Like why is lying bad? Why are these small things we think of as bad bad? So what are some other things like that? For example, not like in America, I would say not working really hard all the time is bad. If you enjoy your life, you are looked at, I guess from at least my experience living in the Bay Area, you are looked at as someone who like just threw like didn't really do much with their life, right? Like that's like a enjoying your life is not something that's valued. And so, enjoyment only exists so far as it improves your life in the Bay, in that culture. You enjoy yourself so you can be more productive. You enjoy yourself so your mental health is better so you can accomplish and think better. Like, it's not just for the sake of enjoyment. You don't do things just to enjoy life. And I guess like that end goal is key, right? Like, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? And what is my secondary benefit gain from that? Is it just the action itself? And I think the true thing is when the action itself is the secondary gain. So it's like when I play basketball, the gain is just to play basketball, not to look good, not, you know? But yeah, all right. Well, those are just a bunch of thoughts on my head. Got it out. All right, good to go. All right, have a great day. Great week, brother.